Kubuntu is an operating system built by developers all across the globe. Of course, since this is Linux, we can expect it to be free, complete, and an open source alternative to Microsoft Windows and Mac OS. This contains everything that the users needs, from work to play, even sharing. But first, I would like to thank everyone who have already subscribed to my channel. Now, as long as you guys are willing to learn programming and technology related stuff and topics, I won't stop making video tutorials and reviews. So please don't hesitate to click the subscribe button and the bell notification button so that you will be notified every time a new content is uploaded. Now going back, the 20.04 LTS or long-term support release also has an African connection, being codenamed Focal Fossa, after the small cat-like carnivore from Madagascar. Kubuntu 20.04 LTS will be supported up until April 2023. So, although I am sure that many will upgrade to the next LTS due to be released in April 2022. So on April 2022, a new LTS version will be released. Now, to install, I would suggest you create a bootable disk or bootable USB drive from the ISO downloaded and use Rufus if you wanted to install it directly to your machine. Now, in my case, I didn't install it on a machine. Instead, what I am currently using is a virtual machine or a virtual box. So that at least I can test it out before I actually install it or decide to install it on my local machine. I'm also going to include where you can download Rufus, which is what or how I would create a bootable USB drive from the ISO that I have downloaded. Now, Kubuntu basically unites Ubuntu with KDE and the beautiful Plasma desktop. It also comes with its full set of applications. The installation includes with it productivity, office, email, graphics, photography, and music applications which are ready to use. So basically, once you install Kubuntu, everything will already be at your fingertips. So there's no need for you to install other applications because it comes along because everything comes along after the installation process. Now, maybe you're thinking right now, what is the minimum requirements of Kubuntu? Okay, maybe you're running right now an older machine, or you're currently running a 10 to 15-year-old machine. So these are its recommended requirements. Let's first try to talk about its recommended requirements. Now, the recommended Kubuntu system requirements are ideally best suited to install this Linux-based operating system. They allowed us to use all of the features of the KDE application. Now, in other words, we can basically use KDE platform to the fullest. Now, these are its hardware configuration. So, a recommended requirement of Pentium 300 MHz processor, 8 gig of hard drive space or hard disk space, 256 MB of RAM. Video card supports a resolution of 640 by 480, but currently I'm using the 440 by 900 as my default resolution in my virtual machine. A motherboard architecture can be either Intel x86 or AMD 64. It can also be 32-bit or 64-bit architecture. But I would suggest you try to use 64-bit architecture, especially if you're having more than 2 gigabytes of RAM. Now, although that is its recommended requirements, let's try to talk about also its minimum requirements, which allows us to install and work with this particular operating system. Now, if your hardware only has a Pentium 233 MHz processor, 4 gig of hard disk space, 128 MB of RAM, a video adapter and monitor with a 640 by 480 resolution, you can still very much use Kubuntu. Okay, so considering, let's say for example, that the computer is 10 to 15-year old, uh, you will certainly require to upgrade it to satisfy the system requirements. Okay, however, in today's times, upgrading a computer is not a costly affair. So it's not that much actually. If you wanted to upgrade, let's say for example, you wanted to upgrade from 8 gig of memory to make it 16 gig. Although the only issue that I could find is maybe you will be having trouble looking for that particular hardware, especially if your machine is already 10 to 15 years old. So luckily for me, although my machine is more than 10 years old, I wasn't able to find some hardware such as memory. I was able to upgrade my computer's memory from 8 gig to 16 gig. Then I was also able to find a video card wherein um, my board still supports. So all you have to do basically is just try to look for it. So that's one of the main issues, by the way, if you wanted to upgrade your system from if you have an older system, older machine, in order for you to use KDE or Kubuntu for that matter. Now, maybe you're also thinking right now, so what's the main difference between Kubuntu and KDE Neon? So basically, Kubuntu is the official KDE flavor from Ubuntu. So it actually comes from Ubuntu. Whereas KDE Neon is the Ubuntu-based distribution by KDE itself. Okay, so that those are its two main difference. I've also done a review on KDE Neon. I'm also going to add the link at the description below. So that you will be able to also to see the difference between the two systems. So, what are other difference between KDE Neon and Kubuntu? Now, because KDE has the KDE Plasma suite on the Ubuntu-based OS, KDE Neon often is mistaken for Kubuntu and vice versa. However, the primary difference between the two operating systems is that Kubuntu maintains stable release and LTS version of Ubuntu, while KDE Neon focuses on updating developer editions of KDE applications without maintaining stable releases of Ubuntu unless the root user actively chooses to upgrade their system. KDE Neon forces the user to update the distro with package it. So KDE Neon would force the user to upgrade or to update the distribution using package it instead of advanced packaging tool. This approach prevents possible issues during the KDE packages update. Of course, it comes along with an advantage. Now, as you've noticed, I've already done with the installation. So let's just try to have a little bit of a demonstration on maybe a little bit of customization. And let's also try to look at what is under the hood of Kubuntu. So as you can see, I've already opened my system settings. Under my system settings, you can find global theme. Okay, let's try to select global theme. Okay. Currently, let's say, okay, so we have here Breeze, Dark, and Kubuntu. So you can also get new global themes online. So if you want, you can download it online. Okay, so currently, by default, we have here Breeze Dark or Kubuntu. It's the Kubuntu actually is the default. Currently, we're using Kubuntu, not Breeze Dark. Sorry. So let's try to use this time Breeze, which is I think that's the light theme. Then okay, selected it already. Then we need to click apply. Okay. So now as you've noticed, the icon or the application launcher icon changed, and also the color of the window changed from dark to light. Okay, let's try to go back to dark. Let's try to select Dark Breeze, then click apply. Okay, so again, it changes. So I would rather have Kubuntu as my global theme because I don't like this particular icon. So I'll just be using Kubuntu. Okay, now we also have our plasma style. Let's try to wait. Okay, this is the plasma style. This is where you can actually change again application style. Okay, customization actually in Kubuntu or I mean it can be customized in a lot of ways. So these are all of the different changes or customization that we can use when it comes to trying to customize its appearance. So you can change the color, fonts, icons, cursors. I won't go through all of the individual um, menu. Okay, so all of these things. Okay, you can also personalize your account details if you want, notifications, regional settings. You can also have here hardware, display and monitor. Now this is where I actually changed the display settings. So as you can see, I have here 1440 by 900. That's my uh, resolution, or that's my selected resolution. That's what I would normally use. Okay. Then you also have change. You can also change here the audio configuration, multimedia, and power management. Now, looking at the application launcher, uh, these are all under our favorites. So we have here Firefox browser. Usually, when you talk about Linux, this is its default browser, Firefox. Then we also have here Discover for our software center. Okay, let's try to open our software center. What else? We have Kate, our advanced text editor, LibreOffice, Dolphin File Manager, System Monitor, System Settings. Okay, let's try to look at System Settings. Now, we have here the different, under our featured, our application launcher, or our, what do you call this? Our software center, I mean, sorry, not application launcher, but software center. These are where we can actually look for certain applications and install it directly onto our system. Now, again, this is also what I've been stating ever since I started using Linux. I stated also this one even during my review on KDE Neon. You don't need to use a terminal to install applications in Linux. That's one of the most common misconception when it comes to Linux. Okay, we can actually use the application or the software center of Linux to install applications. Okay, so let's say for example you wanted to use or you're trying to look for developer tools. Okay, so I to click developer tools. So for example you have you wanted to use Genie or Genie text editor. So all you have to do is just click install. Okay. There's no need for us to go through the terminal, but you can also, of course, use the terminal. Okay, let's try to close this one first. For web development, okay, let's say you have here Bluefish editor and you have K-image map editor. Okay, so to go back here. Okay. So for education, okay, you have here mathematics and science, although I haven't heard of these two applications. Okay. Games, you also have default games, board games, mahjong, logic games such as Sudoku. Okay. Internet, of course, you have Firefox. You also have your conversation, which is an IRC client. You can also use KTorrent for BitTorrent client. Thunderbird. It actually KDE Neon actually comes with all of the applications that you need for your daily use. Okay, let's go to Office. Okay, so for Office, everything is already installed. Okay, so you can use LibreOffice or Draw, Impress, Math, Writer. Okay, so basically all you have to do is just download. That's one of the good things actually about Linux. So you don't need to buy or install the application separately because it comes in package with the operating system. Now for utilities, okay, you have your Arc, which is an archiving tool. Now it's counterpart of this one in Windows is your WinRAR or WinZip. Okay, emoji selector, Kate, which is an advanced text editor. Okay, Spectacle, text info. Okay, what else? So these are all of the applications that comes pre-installed when you install Kubuntu. Now let's try to go to our terminal just to have a little bit of okay, so before we try to open our terminal, let's first try to change our desktop or our background. Okay, I'm going to right click here, then we have here configure uh, desktop. Let's try to change the background this time. So we have here desktop folder settings plasma. Okay, so these are all of the different wallpapers that we can use uh, for our background. Let's say, for example, we wanted to use Dance of the Spirits. Just click apply. Okay, so as you've noticed, it's already changed. You can also change the mouse action, the location, the icons, as well as the filter. Okay, let's try to right click here. These are all also create new folder. These are all of the different applications that we can create. So let's say, for example, you wanted to create a text file. Just right click on anywhere on the desktop. Then we have here text file. Okay. Now, one of the things, by the way, that makes Kubuntu great is its Dolphin file manager, which is actually Kubuntu boasts it to be quite fast. Okay, let's try to see it. Although I think we won't be able to see the difference since I'm running it on my virtual machine. But if I were to transfer it already on my actual machine, I'm going to be able to see the difference or how fast it is. Okay, so split, I can search for the file here. I can also sort. Okay, I'm going to right click here on the hamburger. Okay, these are all of the different options that we can use. Configure Dolphin. Okay, so general, preview, so on. Okay, now let's try to look for our terminals. Okay, now by default, its terminal actually it's called console. Okay, which is actually the KDE console. Okay, so let's try to check if NeoFetch is already installed. Okay, NeoFetch is not found, but can be installed with sudo apt install NeoFetch. Try to install NeoFetch via the terminal. Okay, so it's currently installing. Now you can also change the date and the date and time settings here. Okay, can select the calendar. Keep it open. Try to look for ways to change the calendar. Calendar. Okay, date and time. Okay, we have here format. Okay, so currently the region is Philippines since I'm located in the Philippines. You can also change the detailed settings. So numbers, time. Okay, just click cancel. Next is NeoFetch. Now, this is its technical information. So we have here for the operating system, Ubuntu. Host is VirtualBox 1.2. Kernel set uptime, it's been up for 45 minutes. Shell, Bash. Okay. The desktop environment is Plasma. Window Manager is Quinn. Windows Manager theme Breeze. Terminal, it's console. Okay, you can find it here, console. Okay, so memory, it's 803 megabytes over 3,926 megabytes. Okay, so these are all the different technical information of Kubuntu. Now, as you've noticed, it's still running Ubuntu as its base OS. So whatever commands you learn when using Ubuntu, you can also very much use it in Kubuntu. That's one of the advantages of using Kubuntu, by the way, since its base OS is still very much Ubuntu. Now, so what are the uses of Kubuntu? So is it possible, what are the uses of Kubuntu? Can we use it for our everyday operating system? So I will very much use Kubuntu if there's a need for me to use it for my day-to-day grind. So let's say, for example, I'll be using it on my office to browse, write documents, view PDFs, check email, and other things. I would very much install it on my machine. So, Kubuntu is a stable operating system for day-to-day use. The choice comes down to what desktop environment you want and what are your needs. Okay, so basically it all boils down to what your needs are. Okay, so I would suggest that you try it out so that you'll be able to get a feel of Kubuntu as your day-to-day operating system. Try to shift from Windows to Kubuntu, or if you're not that comfortable yet in using Linux, try to install Linux on a virtual machine and try to use it on a daily basis so that at least you will first have a feel on how to use Kubuntu or any other Linux distribution, or in our case right now, since we're basically focus on Kubuntu, so try to install it on a virtual machine or virtual box and try to use it for your day-to-day guide, even if it's just in a virtual machine.